Hello and welcome to Sunset TV. I'm Tina Jha with a special broadcast where we'll bring before you stories of eminent global personalities across different continents and diverse fields, but all of them with one common connect. They connect with the roots, and that root is India. The Indian diaspora is the largest in the world, with 18 million people from the country living outside their homeland. As per the United Nations data from the year 2020, the Indian diaspora is present in all continents and regions. And interestingly, they are recognized the world over as not just the most vibrant and dynamic, but also the most diverse diaspora in the world. Persons of Indian origin are today playing a key role in the economic prosperity of countries, working in construction, hospitality, care services. The diverse Indian diaspora also includes highly skilled scientists, engineers, and doctors. And more significantly, the increasing number of Indians dominating the political discourse in the countries of their residence is also remarkable. On this episode of The Global Indians, we bring before you one such eminent member of the Indian diaspora, Mr. Ramesh Sangha. A former member of parliament in the House of Commons, Canada, Mr. Sangha is a distinguished lawyer. He represents one of the most diverse ridings in Canada and is known for his strong, consistent and dedicated engagement with his community. Welcome to Sunset TV, Mr. Sangha. Pleasure having you on the program today.
Thank you very much. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning on my side. Thank you very much for giving me this time and taking me on your TV. Thank you.
Okay, so let me begin the conversation with you. Interestingly, when I was reading your profile, I was amazed to see the diverse areas of your work, Mr. Sangha, from being a proud Indian Air Force officer to then becoming an established lawyer and also then being elected as a member of the Canadian Parliament. Yours is a story full of accomplishments. So tell us and our viewers more about how this journey began from Jalandhar in Punjab to Canada many, many decades ago.
Thank you very much, Tina. Actually, after matriculation, I joined Indian Air Force, and I did my service more than the service which I was supposed to do 15 years, 1.5 extra because of the shortage of manpower in my trade. So then, after retirement from completing my term of engagement with the Air Force, I started my practice at Jalandhar. From there, I migrated to Canada in 1994. After coming here, I upgraded my law degree in Windsor, University of Windsor, Ontario, and started my practice. I got a chance to come into the politics because there was extension in the parliament seats, so I could get in my riding where I was practicing law in Brampton.
You were already an established lawyer, Mr. Sangha. How did this journey into politics happen? Did you want to do it, or was it luck by chance, I should say?
It was, you can say it was in my mind that to be a politician. But when I came into Canada, I started joining the meetings of Liberal Party, and I had my lean toward Liberal, and that's the way I got into the politics into Canada.
Absolutely, and something that you began here and you wanted to do all the way from India, you did that in Canada. You were elected member of parliament twice. So since we are speaking about Canadian politics, you mentioned your association with Liberal Party. The party is set to form the government once again in Canada. A quick response from you on the kind of expectations that you have from Justin Trudeau's government, especially in the wake of the challenges that lie before Canada, in the wake of the pandemic, to say.
See, in the pandemic, this is the time when all the parties have played a good role into the politics. They are non-partisan. When we talk about this pandemic, to tackle the pandemic, all the parties were together on the one forum. So this government was given the full leeway to tackle this epidemic, and it was tackled properly. There's no doubt in it. And all parties. I say not only the ruling party. We have to appreciate that every party was supporting the government, supporting the ruling party.
Apart from the challenges posed by the COVID pandemic, what are the other roadblocks in the progress of Canadians that that stand before this government?
Liberal is a party which is, it is a very moderate party. Their agendas are liberal agendas. So they work in a way that we have good relations with the global country, every country on the global basis. We should have people-to-people ties. We would have better relationship regarding economic situations to increase the better relationship between the countries.
You're a dedicated member of the community as well, and the community holds significant clout in Canada. What is it that you can do to enhance India-Canada relationship?
I think better is as we are having very good relation regarding the people-to-people ties, regarding education, regarding other relationship, and there are many scopes also. See, in import and export from one country to the other country, India and Canada, there are marvelous scopes lying before both the countries.
So since you mentioned people-to-people ties, one thing that comes to mind is Indian immigrants comprise about 4% of Canada's population. But what is the kind of connect that they feel with this route, the common connect, which is India? So somebody of your generation who has been born in India may feel that connect, but for the others who have been born and raised as Canadian citizens but have that connect with India, how can that connect with India be established? What is the kind of sentiment among the Indian diaspora?
Truly speaking, those who are having Indian backgrounds, even not only me, I am a really now over 70, so I had been living there, I had born there, I had educated, I worked there, I have gone all over in India, all over posting in different Air Force stations. So that means my link is a different type of link. But even otherwise, those were my grandkids, I can say here, those are already grown up now. They have the desires in their mind to go back to India.
But if we talk about, the contribution of the Indian diaspora in terms of economic progress of the countries of their residence, Canada has been very, very lucky in that aspect because politically, if we see the representation of the persons of Indian origin in Canadian politics has been immense, and it has only been increasing with each passing year. Even now, with the current results, we've seen about 20 Indo-Canadian members of Parliament being elected. So how influential are the Indo-Canadian MPs, sir, if we talk about the political clout of Canadian politics and also in terms of political initiatives that they have been taking?
See, let me tell you this, diaspora in Canada, they are really flourishing. People of Indian origin here, they are having, you can talk about anything which one can achieve it here. Indian diaspora has also achieved in the same way. Big businesses, transportation, talk about in education, talk about lawyers, talk about politicians, doctors, everywhere. In every field, Indians are not behind. They are contributing to Canadian economy in an immense way. And Canada is proud of Indian diaspora here, those who are putting their heart and soul and making Canada flourish. And that's the way we Indians are being respected, honored here, and due the respect we get from all other communities, those who are in Canada. See, my riding, as you are telling, is very diverse. Yes, if anybody want to see in Canada, which is the most diverse riding, that is Brampton Centre, where I was. So why other people vote to me? Why people want to? Because they know that these people, these Canadian diaspora, Indian diaspora people are hardworking people, trustworthy people, credit-worthy people. Once they say something, they do it. And that's the way people are. Do it here. And that we got it from here, from our ancestors, from our system, which we had back in India at that time. And that's the way it is. I need to say here that India has got a big name in the communities in Canada. India has a big name in the whole world. There's nothing which is lacking India behind, nothing. I know the potential which India can have.
We've spoken about the immense contribution of the persons of Indian origin in the countries of their residence, sir. But when we talk about India's growth story and the potential that you see in the terms of progress that India will make, how can the Indian diaspora contribute to India's growth story?
I had a chance to opportunity nearly a few years back to go to India when Mr. Modi was, he came to as a president at that time, a prime minister, and he held a meeting that was called Indian the parliamentarians of Indian origin. It was a seminar, big seminar, and big step it was by Mr. Modi. It was really Prime Minister Modi. I was feeling that this step is going to take more deep India into the Indian diasporas living outside in the world. And people, were feeling at home when people like me, not only from Middle East or from other people everywhere, from England, all over, even China, Suriname, and all those people where all Indians are living. One time they went as a denture labor, and now they are in the parliament. So those people were feeling proud to be at home.
As a senior member of the Indian diaspora in Canada, you've obviously seen several governments here. But what are the kind of transformation that you see now? That, the diaspora, the members of the Indian diaspora now feel proud to be connected with their roots?
Yes, they feel it. That's what I was talking to you earlier too. Because, this we people, even our kids, even grandkids, they feel themselves. They feel themselves to be proud of Indian origin. And when they talk someone and their friends are there, and they really talk with their honor that, we belong to India back. So those are the things which we should keep on inculcating in our kids, so that kids are feeling proud of their ancestry, their heritage.
Okay, coming back to your personal journey, sir. You've been a two-time member of parliament from Brampton Centre, but you did not seek re-election this time. So does that mean that you have said you've bid goodbye to politics, or will you take another attempt the next time?
See, I came to politics being a lawyer, when I was having well-established law firm here. And then I had same craze in my mind that, I will go into politics. But now at this time, it's not the end of the life. It's not end of the game for me, because if I'm not good with this administration of liberal administration, it's not that I'm not a liberal. I'm a liberal. I will be liberal, and I will be playing my roles as and when required. And Canada need it. Canadian need it. Canada need this type of. I feel myself, Canada need me to keep on playing the roles. But I am again in my law practice. I have started my practice. I am fully engaged in it, and I will be keeping myself busy with law practice as well as with the politics.
Okay, so one final question. You've also mentioned in your profile about your consistent engagement, dedicated engagement with members of your community. Now, because Sikhs form an important part of the Indian immigrants living in Canada, and the increasing number of Sikhs in the Canadian politics who've been elected as members of parliament, they've also gone on to serve as ministers. Do you see a day when a Sikh can become a prime minister, the prime minister of Canada?
See, this country is a very liberal country. It's a country where everybody can accept these things. There's no way that Indian or Sikh origin member parliament cannot become a prime minister of Canada. Yes, there are possibilities, but only then again comes question is majority of the MPs should support, that party should get the majority, then only the leader of the party can. First, he has to be a leader of the party, one person. Once you're leader of the party, then you get the majority in the party. You go directly to the prime minister, because nobody can stop. And that's how people were there, as they are, and they will be as a prominent post in the government as minister, cabinet ministers.
But with the kind of significant clout that they enjoy in Canada, how soon do you see that coming?
See, it depends upon, the citizens when they vote. And let me tell you, Canadian citizens are very intelligent, and they vote very intelligently. On the last 2-3 days, strategical vote, that counts, that makes the turn in the politics, and that makes the people to come. Anybody can be a member of parliament. Anybody who qualify himself can be a prime minister of Canada.
Okay, so with that, I'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of Global Indians. Thank you, Mr. Sangha, for joining us on Sansad TV and sharing your thoughts with us. It was an absolute pleasure having you on the program. And
thank you, Tina. Thank you very much.
I extend all really best wishes on behalf of Sansad TV to you for your future venture as well, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. So that's it from us on this edition of Global Indians. Thank you very much for your time.